So my name's Dave McMurray. I've been in real estate since 2016, so not like a really long time, but long enough to have some battle scars and some good stories and bad stories. I started as an individual agent, like most people do. And some of you may have joined a team right from the start. But I started as an individual agent. I did pretty well as an individual agent, and I was the #1 individual agent, I think 3 or 4 years straight for Keller Williams Experience. I'm in Muskoka, so I don't live in Barrie. I live right in Bracebridge, which is kind of if you're familiar with cottage country, it's kind of the middle of Muskoka, the town of Bracebridge. I've got a family. I've been married 26 years to my wife, Lisa. I've got 2 kids. Joanna is first year of college right now, and Adam is 21 and working full time. I've got a small team. I guess in the city you'd say it's a boutique team, but I'm just saying that's a small team. It's made up of myself, Leanne Brooks, my sister, Laura Smiley's just starting with us now, and my wife Lisa, besides being my wonderful spouse, is also my really overqualified admin. So she's been my admin for I think 3 or 4 years now, and her background, she was a senior manager of the Township of Muskoka Lakes in Port Carling, and just decided to join our real estate business. But she has no interest in being licensed, like zero interest in the people end of stuff, but she's really good at the paperwork and dealing with the clients kind of in the background. So that's what our team's made up of. We've probably got another agent coming on to the team by spring, once she's just finished up her last exams. Not aiming for a big team, but really kind of quality over quantity. And I am not like the best team leader. Well, my team would probably say I'm a pretty good team leader, but I'm not looking for huge growth in the team. Like, I want my team to grow, but I want the people to grow, not the team and the dollars for me. And trying to figure out how that works in Muskoka with the seasonal market, things like that. That's been a real learning curve for us, going from being an individual agent to owning and running a team. We've got a branch office up here, so if you're ever up in Muskoka, please drop by. We've got a spot where you can use the Wi-Fi and look at all the cool stuff around here. And in the summer, there was an ALC trip up here, and we went out on the boat and hung out and did some fun stuff. That is Muskoka in summer, there's nothing better. Muskoka in winter, there's better places for sure. So I'm gonna how many of you guys have you ever done Ignite before? Like, you started last week, some of you guys, is that right? Yeah. Okay. Ignite is like basic training in Keller Williams world. So it's a included, no charge course. It's called Skills to Spark a Great Career. There's a lot of stuff in Ignite that you would see in other courses and other related things that are KW things. And when I say it's basic training, it kind of is. Like, if you applied all the stuff you learned in Ignite, you would have a great year in real estate. It's hard to apply everything that you learn. Keller Williams, I found when I started, was like a fire hose of information, and applying it is the trick. Like, learning it is really important, but actually doing it is kind of where the rubber hits the road. So we can talk a little bit about that. When I do Ignite courses, I like interaction. I will go through all the slides, but I'm totally not a stick to the script guy. Sarah probably knows that. Yeah, for sure.
We like it that way. We like it best when you come here and you tell us about your business.
Yeah, and I'd like to, so before I get going on the slides, if it's okay, Sarah, I just kind of like to hear from everyone who's on. Give me like a brief summary, like how long you've had your license, and like one fun fact about yourself. It doesn't even have to be that fun, just something. So why don't we start with Elsie on my page? She's like bottom left, and then we'll just go clockwise. Tell me something, Elsie.
Hi. I haven't started yet. I just finished the course in December, so I just paid for my insurance and everything. It came through, like my application came through last week. So
okay,
my hope is to start March 3rd. But yeah, I'm very new.
Great.
And like, what else do you want to
Are
know?
you in Barrie? Are you in?
Oh, I'm in Wyville.
Okay. Yeah.
If you know where that is. I'm
I do.
just 10 minutes out of Elmville. Like 20
Great.
minutes. Yeah, 20 minutes north out of Barrie. So in the countryside. And yeah.
That's good. That's good. That's all I'm looking for. It's just the basics there. Carrie?
I have been licensed since October, and I live right in Barrie, and I do this right now. It's just part-time. I'm full-time. I work as a school secretary.
Okay.
In KWEX, so I'm sort of focusing on both areas because most of my contacts are where I work in KWEX.
Mm-hmm. So you're like the real boss, Carrie, the school secretary.
That's right.
That's who runs the show.
Yeah, I've been there longer than pretty much anyone else in the school too. So.
Yeah. Okay. Actually, my wife, she was a school secretary at 2 different schools. So yes, she loved that job.
Yeah.
Rajmi, are you with us?
Yeah. So, yeah, my name is Rashmi. This is my 5th year in real estate. I'm with Century 21 People Choice, and I'm living in Vaughan area.
Okay, great. Well, thanks for joining us.
Thank you.
And so we've got Joyce, and then we have, all I see is A next to Maharaj. But what's your first name?
Hi, I'm Arti. Nice to meet you. I am not licensed yet. I am on course 3. I just wrote my course 2 exam last week. And well, actually, I finished course 3 as well. So I'm writing that exam on the 26th and hope to finish everything by early May.
Great. How about you, Joyce? There she is.
Hi. I completed last year. I joined all the classes with Michigan.
Okay.
And I registered with OREA I registered with Humber this year. But right now I'm busy at other work, so I have to get all the studies hopefully end of the year, maybe September.
Okay.
Yeah, but I can still join the Wednesday class. Thank you.
Absolutely. You are welcome at the Wednesday class. So that's nice. There's a real variety of people and experience. And I mean, we didn't even get into kind of your life. Don't worry, I'm not going to start digging. Real estate is one of these types of businesses that it works for so many types of people. It's not just a tool in your tool belt. There's so many different ways that you can use a real estate license. And in the market that I work, I'm dealing with residential, also recreational, like cottage properties, acreage, a little bit of commercial, but the commercial work is almost all small businesses like family-run marinas and campgrounds, and like it's very different than what you would deal with in Barrie or in the GTA or in surrounding areas. But the one thing we have in common is we all have basically the same licensing to do the same things. And what you do with it is going to be really up to you and your imagination and how much you apply the things that you learn. Well, let's start jumping into the slides. We're putting together 2 different parts. Session 2 is find your business. Part 3 is connect with your market. And part 4 is define your value. And at any point, feel free to interject or interrupt if you want to ask a question or have a comment, because I will probably go through some of this stuff pretty quick so that we can just have a few basic Q&A at the end. I want to respect your time, but you might have to interrupt me if you want, if you have a question, okay?
Yeah.
All right, let me figure out how to move through here. That didn't change anything for you guys, did it?
No, it should give you an option to present on the
There we go. I'm on it. I am on it. Okay, so this is some of the stuff you've been talking about, I think, with previous parts of the course. I'm going to click through this. You guys, are any of you working in Command yet?
I've been loading things in Command.
Yeah, well, that's good. It's a good start. That's how you get a feel for how it works. It's a very powerful platform, really. It does a lot of different things, but you'll definitely be using it at a minimum for all of your paperwork when you have a deal and for tracking your clients. Yeah, we have a lot of technology with the company, and utilizing the apps is very helpful. I'm clicking through here pretty quick.
That's okay. We've gone over a lot of that.
Okay, so we are here. You've done Spark Your Career, Embrace Your Job, or you've had an opportunity to attend those. And we're going to start with Connect with Your Markets. Here we got a quote from Gary Culler, the main man. Here's the truth. If it has been done in another market, it can be done in your market. Once it has been done, no matter where, it's just a matter of finding out how that can be possible in your world. Some of us are more confident than others. Like as a kid, I was kind of the kid who thought, well, if that person can do it, I can probably do it. Whether it was true or not, that's kind of the attitude I had. And I carried a little bit of that forward into my work life. And some people are the opposite. They just don't think they can do anything. But it is very true. If someone else has done it, you can likely do it as well, especially when it comes to systems and applying knowledge that you can gain, which is really what real estate is about. There's only so much that only personality will carry you in this business. You really do need to know a lot and to work hard. Know your market. Knowing and connecting with your market is all about research and preparation. 3 types of real estate markets. We've got a buyer's market, which has more than 7 months of inventory, a balanced market, which is from 5 to 7 months of inventory, and a seller's market, which is less than 5 months of inventory. I'm sure you guys have heard about buyers and sellers market. The media loves talking about it. What would you say the Barrie market is currently? Educate me.
Buyer's market.
Okay, so there's lots of inventory.
Yeah.
Okay.
Can I chip in there?
What's that?
Can I chip in?
Sure. Yeah, jump in.
Where there is a lot of confusion when it comes to the buyers and sellers market and what kind of inventory. We are actually in a very balanced market, if not even a little bit of a seller's market. What I think the misconception is in Barrie is that we're in such a strong seller's market, only having 2 weeks of inventory throughout COVID up until recently, Carrie, that like we are just like getting like we're on that cusp of a seller's and balanced market because we were just so used to it being such an intense seller's market that now that things aren't flying off the shelf, we think it's a buyer's, but it's actually not. That's all.
Okay, well, there you go. So in Muskoka, we've got so many different types of micro markets. We've got the cottage market, we've got vacant land, and we have residential and some other types of very separate markets. With residential, it is more of a buyer's market right now. And it's a balanced market, I'd say, with waterfront, which I think it'll stay there for a couple months, but nobody knows until spring. Really, nobody knows. We had lots and lots of inventory last year that didn't move. The buyers were very quiet, weren't doing anything, which was a bizarre season last year where people wanted to see properties but weren't offering on them. And the inventory just kept adding up. So a lot of that product will come back on the market this spring, and the buyers, some of them will make decisions. They aren't going to wait another summer in making a decision about that cottage property. But with residential, now that interest rates are pretty much leveled out, people are going to have to buy and sell. They just are going to have to. That's my market anyway. Okay, inventory is the number of properties for sale within a market. So it's important to know these kinds of things, the type of market you're in, the inventory in your particular market. So I would think all of you are not just going to be working in one particular small town or a city. If you're working in Barrie, for example, you probably would also work in Innisfil. You might work as far north as Aurelia. Some of you will come up to my area. Just give me a call ahead of time so I can put out a spike belt on the road and keep your car from coming up. But your license is for all of Ontario. It's just very hard to be an expert in Ontario. So the more you know about particular areas, the more you'll appear to be an expert to your friends, family, neighbors, and potential clients. So what's the inventory of your market? What's the average number of days a home stays on the market in your area? What's the average price a home in your market sells for? Based on the inventory, what type of real estate market are you in? You don't have to answer this because it will depend where you're looking. But when you are fully registered and you do have access to the board, I'm on the 1 Point board. You can get, and the board, if you're on BDAR, you'll have access to all the data that is being mentioned here. You can actually print out graphs, and you can figure out where things are at, how long things are on the market, what the average days on market are. Like during COVID, for example, days on market was crazy low. Things were selling in a couple weeks. So average day on market in my area, some of it was like 7 days, which is bonkers. Where a cottage property up in Muskoka used to be average days on market would be like 250 days. You could have a full season on the market for a lot of cottages. So it's good to know when those things change, because someone who's used to 7 days on the market is going to be very surprised if you're selling the property and it takes 365 days to sell it. They might not be too impressed. But if you prepare them ahead of time, because you know the language of real estate and you know your numbers, you can educate them and say, well, the inventory has changed a little bit in the last couple of years because of this factor, this factor, this factor. And likely the days on market is going to stay similar to what it's been for the last couple of months. And then you tell them what that was. And you'll have access to all that information. If you're not registered already, you will have that. And you can have someone like Sarah to show you how. Right, Sarah? I didn't hear you. There you go.
I nodded.
Come on, Sarah, get with it. No.
I got kids and animals running around. I'm trying to keep my volume.
Yeah, no. Interest rates and lender regulations. Make contacts with lenders in your area so you can stay up to date on your market and answer any questions your clients may have about the process. So there's some agents who actually are mortgage brokers as well. Our office has some people like that. I recommend a couple different mortgage brokers myself, and I give people their names. I don't take any money for that from the mortgage brokers. Once in a while, I'll get a bottle of wine or something at Christmas. But I just want to make sure that my clients are talking to people who are really good at their job. So I just emailed somebody right before I came on this call and gave them 2 names of people that I recommend that they work with, because they want to talk to a mortgage broker who works specifically with waterfront properties. There's lots of good mortgage brokers out there. If you don't know a few, you will connect with them. And believe me, once you're on Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, anything like that, and you're a realtor, they'll start reaching out to you. I do suggest that you are careful about who you recommend, because they're going to reflect on you, right? If they do a great job, it's going to make you look good. If they don't do a great job, people are going to question what you know based on your referral to them. So if you don't know anybody, don't recommend anybody. But once you know a couple, if you've worked with them yourself with a purchase, or family has, and they've come highly recommended, then recommend somebody. It's like anything else. If someone asked you a good restaurant to eat at, if you haven't eaten there yourself, you would talk to friends and family or whatever, or talk to somebody who's a foodie. And so talk to other agents if you don't have a connection who's a lender. And I also recommend mortgage brokers, not banks in particular. Once in a while, there's someone who works at a bank who's awesome, but for the most part, they end up getting promoted out of there, and they're not there very long, and you have to go to downtown Toronto for all the permissions. I'd rather work with a mortgage broker, because they don't work, banker's hours. They work evenings and weekends like we will. Knowing interest rates and what a mortgage, what a mortgage going for the most part, your clients, they already know that. They're on the internet, they're asking around, but it is good to have an idea of where things are at with interest rates in general. Any questions on that? Okay, economic factors, they play an important role in an agent's understanding of the market. What's the employment and unemployment rate in your market? How many workers are entering or exiting the workforce in your market? What's the growth rate of your community? Has the government made any changes to rules and regulations that might affect the housing market? These are all really important things. I work in small towns. If years ago there was one big factory in Bracebridge and it shut down, it was an auto supply company. When the free trade agreement was renegotiated 20 years ago, this factory closed, and like 50 families at least would have been out of work at the same time. That impacted the real estate market. I wasn't a realtor at the time, but it makes a big difference when something like that happens. Growth rate of your community, like Barrie is rapidly growing. Innisfil, I think, is growing even faster. And then anything about the government making changes to rules and regulations affecting the housing market. We have seen the effect of interest rates going up and down in the last 2 years, especially a year and a half, which has incredibly impacted the housing market. As interest rates were going up, people did not want to purchase. They were hoping that they would stop going up, and people were, even some of them were hesitating to sell after a few months of interest rates going up. So any type of instability can affect people's perspective on buying and selling real estate, and knowing what the government's doing and what's going to happen in the next little while related to whether it's going to be tariffs from our not so friendly friends in the south, or interest rate, maybe emergency rate cut that could happen with the Bank of Canada, could make things better for buyers. So just keeping on top of that a little bit, if you've got real estate in your news feed on your phone or on your computer, that's a good way of kind of getting general information, because you'll get articles about interest rates and stuff that maybe you don't find all that interesting, but your clients will be looking at, especially when they're thinking about buying and selling. Other important market factors to investigate: the neighborhood numbers, nearby shops, restaurants, nearby health facilities, neighborhood attractions. This is all about knowing your market. So, like, if you know what the schools are like, you can talk about what the schools are like. If you know where the hospital is, if you're talking to somebody, and for example, Barrie's got a great heart health clinic there, from what I understand. My dad was there, had a pacemaker put in. That's a big deal if someone's got a heart condition, if they know there's a cardiac specialist that's 20 minutes away instead of having to go to Newmarket. Neighborhood attractions. If most people do look into this stuff, if they're buyers, they want to know. I know if you're dealing with other markets, if you're trying to work where I am in Muskoka, if somebody's really into shopping, like lots of retail and lots of different choices of restaurants, it's a bad place to move if that's their deal. If they like shopping at Yorkdale or something like that in Toronto, we don't have anything like that. They're going to have to make a trip and stay overnight and get all their shopping out over the course of a couple of days. Same thing with health facilities. We have small hospitals. There's no chemotherapy in Muskoka. There's no, there's almost nothing as far as specialists. You have to travel for those things. So those things really matter. And when I talk to clients and they want to move here full time, I do ask them about health needs. And if they've got something specific, like if they need dialysis, for example, I say you need to look into that, because you can't really get dialysis, I think, anywhere except for Huntsville, and it's limited. So it's important to know things like that. Build your expertise. Become the real estate expert of choice. 4 steps to building expertise. Learn the market. If you don't know about it, you have access to the data. Learn your clientele. Well, that's more about who you want to work with. And then listen to individuals. Listen to those people that you want to work with. Or listen to the people who don't want to work with you and ask, why do they not want to work with you? And then keep the headlines in context. That last thing I said about listening to people, I have a really good friend, and I've bought and sold with him twice now. But when I first started real estate, this guy who I have breakfast with every week, he said to me, Dave, I'm not going to hire you until I have an idea that you know what you're doing. And I said, Tony, I'm trying not to be offended. Like, you think I wouldn't do a good job? He goes, no, you just don't know anything until you know something. So I listened to him, even though it was annoying what he said to me. I knew that someone like him wouldn't hire me until I could show him that I was becoming a real estate expert. And sure enough, he had to buy and sell a few years after I had my license, and I've helped him sell a house, helped him buy a property, and other family members of his as well. But I decided to listen to him instead of blow him off and, you know, blacklist him, you know, tell him where to go. Learning the market, know your LORE, language of real estate. It all starts with the language of real estate. No one else uses that, like that acronym, LORE. So that's not like if you're talking to someone from Remax or Chestnut Park or somewhere else, they're not going to necessarily know what language of real estate means. But it's something that we use in KW a fair bit. Know your business. Notice changes over time in your personal business. Learn your clientele. Who were the buyers? Who were the sellers? Does the market benefit your clients? Does the market put your clients at risk? Really, our job is to care more about our clients than about ourselves. And that's, if you're going to treat people the way you want to be treated, and you're going to put their needs first because of our duty to our clients, you've got to kind of understand what you're getting them into, not just look for a quick deal and a quick paycheck, because that will, in the long term, come back to bite you if you're that kind of agent. So who are the buyers? Who are the sellers? Does the market benefit your clients? And does the market put your clients at risk? A really unstable market can be good for some types of buyers, but it may not be great. You know, if prices are really high and things are going really quickly, it might be bad for first-time home buyers. They only have so much money. They're only going to buy once, probably not be able to buy again for 5 to 10 years. They might have to hold off. Or a particular neighborhood might be really hot, and they're going to end up paying $50,000-$60,000 more than they should, or maybe than you think they should. You should at least have a conversation before they make a decision if it's a risky market for them. And then the same thing can be true as far as benefiting them. They might want to move to a certain neighborhood, and when you ask them why, they just like it better, and you know, well, this other neighborhood is just as nice, has all the same things, but just people aren't as aware of it. You might want to point them in that direction and say, well, let's take a look at this as well, because you might get something for less here, and it's going to be the up and coming neighborhood that's like the other one that you like. Make sense? Listen to individuals, take a grassroots approach, learn where your sphere gets information, and be present. The be present part, I think there's lots of different ways you can read that. The grassroots approach, basically, if you've got to know people, this is a people business. If you don't have a network, a sphere to draw on, you need to build it. So if you're quite young, your immediate friends probably aren't buying and selling a lot of real estate right now, but their family may be, or the people they work for may be, or the people that are other people that are in their life may be. You want everyone to know that you're a real estate agent and that you're looking to help them. And then you want to know where they get their information from, like where are they learning things? If they are constantly, well, if they're part of different clubs, or if they are, you know, always asking their personal trainer about real estate stuff, you might want to talk to some personal trainers. It's amazing. Or hairdressers are a great example. They're people who talk to, I don't know much about hairdressers myself, my personal experience, but I've got a daughter and a wife. It's amazing what hairdressers talk about, and I've had a number of different clients that have come from connections with my mom's hairdresser, with my wife and daughter's hairdresser, because they talk to people all the time and people say stuff to them. So where do they get their information? Like who would they ask about who a good real estate agent is? It's amazing who people listen to. Like they should not be listening to their hairdresser about who's a good agent, probably, but who else gets them on a chair for an hour and a half or whatever it takes to get, you know, I don't know, how long does it take to get your hair done? It seems to take forever. But they're sitting right there, and they're listening to them, and they're chatting with them, and there's no one else to talk with. So they talk about everything. And then be present. Let's just be there, listen, you know, eye contact, all that good stuff. Maybe it means like philosophically be present or spiritually be present, but I'm not sure. Okay, keep the headlines in context. Read past the headline, know your numbers. This is about BS in the media as well. So the media, they just have to have to print stuff every day. And real estate, especially when it's hot or really bad, they love talking about it. So there's all sorts of people who reach out. I know they reach out to me about waterfront and cottage stuff because of the name of my team and because of I've got billboards on the highway, and they always want information about how the cottage market is, but they always want a certain type of story. They don't want the boring good story. They want about disasters. They want people making a mistake, or they want people overpaying, or they want people getting unbelievably good deals. Like, they don't want to know what the normal stuff is. So what's the expression in the media? If it bleeds, it leads. That's very true in real estate as well. So when people come and say, oh, I just read an article on how terrible the market is in Barrie right now, my response is something along the lines of, well, I mean, it depends what you're looking for. You know, what part of the market are you? Are you buying? Are you selling? What are you doing in Barrie? Are you looking to buy and sell in the next year? That's when you actually find out if they're a potential client. When you ask them, are you looking to buy and sell? Or if they just want to chat about it, then you can just chat about it a little bit. But you want to zero in on the people who are interested in working with you, and then what their actual concern is. Some people, it's just they read it's a terrible market, but they're not going to sell for 20 years because that's just their situation. So it doesn't really matter. They just like talking about bad things. And then you just want to put a little distance. Know your numbers. So when people tell you something and it's not true, you can decide, depending on the situation, whether you actually want to, take them aside and chat with them a little bit about it. Or I'm not saying getting a flame war, on Facebook or on Twitter or something like that and argue with people. It's not all that helpful. But if you actually know something, at certain times it's worthwhile to share it. Not always to everybody, but to the people who that'll matter to. Because there's a lot of people who just say stuff. They just say stuff. It's like being at a dinner party and you ask somebody about their kids. Like, they're going to talk about all the great stuff about Billy. They're not going to tell you that he's a crackhead, They're going to tell you how great he was at baseball 5 years ago, before he was playing World of Warcraft and hitting the pipe, Okay, a little recap here. Beautiful little visual. I'm not going to read them. And then this is your daily success system. I'm sure you've been encouraged to have your conversations and add contacts, do notes, social media engagement, which is just so easy to do. And then, of course, the enrichments. Okay, now we're moving on to define your value. Any questions on what I've just kind of zoomed through there, guys? Anyone still alive? Yeah. Elsie's still alive. Carrie's still alive. Everyone else has taken their camera off, which I can appreciate. Okay, we can keep moving. The defining your value this is something you guys are definitely going to work on, and only you can do this. Your value proposition. It's a unique, memorable, and persuasive statement that expresses the true value of working with you. It addresses the specific and special needs of the buyer and sellers in your market. It states what you will do for your client to earn your commission. And it holds you accountable to high standards. The benefits of a value proposition, if you didn't need to know, it helps your clients understand your value and your expertise. It protects your commission and builds strong and trusting relationships. Like my friend Tony, who said he wouldn't work with me until I knew what I was doing. He was basically saying, listen, I know you don't have a lot of value and expertise yet, so I don't really want to work with you. And that being said, at the same breakfast that same year, another friend helped me to sell his cottage for $2 million. So he's one who hired me based on relationship only, knowing that I wasn't going to be he's basically said, Dave, I don't understand your business, but I know that you're going to work hard and that you know as much as most people. So come on, let's do it. Where the other guy was a little bit more hesitant. So Tony needed to really understand my value and expertise, where my other friend Dave, he didn't. But Tony's more like working with a stranger or a new person that doesn't know you. You will have to understand, or you have to explain your value and expertise in order to protect your commission, because you'll run into situations where, I mean, everybody in one way or another has some sort of opinion on what realtors get paid. They don't usually understand the work involved. They don't understand what it kind of adds up to or subtracts down to what you actually take home. But in general, the public thinks that real estate agents are overpaid. And the people who feel that way will try and reduce your commission if they can. And your value proposition, of course, builds strong and trusting relationships. I don't know how the value proposition does, but if you are true to your value proposition, it will build strong and trusting relationships. If you are who you say you are, that definitely builds strong and trusting relationships. Here's some examples. Airbnb. Airbnb exists to create a world where anyone can belong anywhere, providing healthy travel that is local, authentic, diverse, inclusive, and sustainable. Walmart. Everyday low prices for a broad range of goods that are always in stock in convenient geographic locations. Slack. Slack makes it downright pleasant to work together. Grammarly. Great writing simplified. Compose bold, clear, mistake-free writing with Grammarly's AI-powered writing assistant. QuickBooks. Oh, sorry. I gotta move something out of the way here. QuickBooks. Send invoices in minutes and get paid 2 days faster. State Farm. Here to help life go right. So, I mean, the cynical person is going to look at Airbnb and say, listen, I stayed in Airbnb, the shower didn't work, and the hot tub was filthy, and it wasn't anything like the pictures. But Airbnb, the company, does exist to create a world where anyone can belong anywhere, providing healthy travel is local, authentic, diverse, inclusive, and sustainable. That's where your experience with Airbnb might be a little bit different than what Airbnb thinks it is. I completely agree with Grammarly. We need more Grammarly in our lives, people. I'm a Gen Xer, and there's not enough good spelling in the world anymore. Walmart, pretty much, that's, for me, that gels well. The everyday low prices for a broad range of goods that are always in stock in convenient locations. Slack, I've never used Slack, though I know a lot of people who love it. And State Farm, I don't know. I mean, they don't exist in Canada anymore, but I like State Farm when they were here. So those are some examples. Connecting to your value, KW and market center value, the fiduciary, being a market expert. When you're new to real estate, and generally speaking, you never tell someone you're new to real estate, because new, in the context of experience and work, is kind of a negative. So when someone asks how long you've been in real estate, you need to figure out some sort of answer to give them. I started real estate in my 40s, or actually I was 39, and nobody immediately thought I might have just started because of my age. So I didn't get the question a lot with how long have you been doing it. But I usually did have some sort of response for people that asked that. But you may want to talk about, if there's a few different ways you can approach that, but you may want to be prepared. That's called scripting, really. It's being ready to deal with objections and being able to handle objections, having some things ready to say when people ask questions that they inevitably will ask. And that's something that we'll move forward with Ignite and further sessions. Right, Sarah?
Yes, correct. I am here.
That's testing. You don't need to be.
Yeah. I was gonna say, like, one of the, like you said, you might not have had as many people ask you that. Elsie, you might get it more. I do notice younger people get asked that question a lot. And when I was first licensed, I was 26, and I got that question a lot. And my answer was always something along the lines of, I'm newly licensed, but I have an amazing brokerage with several experienced agents, and I'm never alone in the process.
Mhm.
That's what I literally said to someone yesterday.
Yeah. It's
So-
the easiest. Now it doesn't get asked very often. Like, I think I've been asked. I usually tell people before I get asked at this point. But at the very beginning, it was like, I'm newly licensed. I've got a great brokerage, though. A lot of people were very helpful. I have a lot of support, and I'm never alone in this.
Yep, that's excellent, Sarah. That is an area I did not have much to offer. Because as soon as you have no hair, people always think you're 100. So, I'm just now entering the sweet spot where people are starting to suggest that I might be younger than I am, just like barely.
I met Dave. We got our license at the exact same time.
Yep.
And
Totally.
I met Dave as we were writing our exams. I wouldn't have guessed, actually, that you were 49.
Yep. Well, there you go. But I look the same basically now as when we met, right?
Yes.
Like I'm graying a little bit, you know.
Only when you said you had like older kids, I was like, oh.
Well, we did start young. We did start young.
Yeah.
Yeah. I was 22 and Lisa was 19 when we got married. Believe it or not. We don't recommend it for most people, but
It worked out for you.
It's worked out well for us. Okay, connecting to your value. I mean, KW and the Market Center, but like Keller Williams is an amazing company and stands for so many wonderful things. The Market Center and having the office, I miss the fact that I can't be in the Market Center very often because of my physical location. I do have an agent office now in Bracebridge, which I pay for and is my, we love it. But to have access to all the resources at the Market Center, to be able to physically go in there is something that I have to drive an hour and a half if I was going to do that. So, but just imagine how much I like Keller Williams if I'm going to join a company where there was no Market Center in my area when I joined. I was so excited to be part of a company that values people over, people over just deals, and the culture's so good. The fiduciary is giving an example. It says, I can point you to reputable resources for service providers such as handyman, window washers, tax associates, financial advisors. So that's all of your allied resources, the people that you may know or you'll get to know that someone who's looking to buy or sell in real estate may need. And they don't always have them. Like growing up, we washed our own windows. But if you're in a hurry and you need to get it done and have it look like your 10-year-old son didn't do it, then you might need to pay someone to do it. Knowing a couple of handyman in my area, I always know a couple contractors who have kind of gone on their own recently. They're very experienced, but in Muskoka, people are starting. Everyone with a hammer is a contractor, it seems like. And I always have a couple that I can recommend to people who need to get some work done. And I know they're not going to be available for very long because they'll get really busy after a year or two. So it's always good to have some people to advise. Financial advisors, an accountant. There's all sorts of different types of people that you'll want to connect your clients to. You don't necessarily offer it if they're not looking for it, especially if you don't know someone really, really good in that area. Like if someone asks me for a tax associate, I don't even know what a tax associate is. I think he's talking about an accountant probably, or somebody who does bookkeeping.
Probably bookkeeper.
Probably bookkeeper. So I mean, I have names for bookkeepers, but the accountant that I use is probably not someone I would recommend to a client necessarily because they're very real estate specific. Same thing with financial advisors. Like if my client has $1 bajillion, they're going to have a different financial advisor. And if they're 18 years old and have $200, they're not going to be interested in a financial advisor. I just tell them to put something in RSPs and say, this is not professional advice, but you should probably not spend all your money. Market expert. I can help you price your home to sell because I'm very tuned into the market of the moment. The best thing that you have now, guys, if you're not busy in real estate, is the fact that you're not busy in real estate. You can use that time to get sharp on some of this stuff, to learn lots of stuff. You'll have access to the databases, to Geo Warehouse. You can find out where all your friends live and all your neighbors. Sarah's like, don't do that. You can learn so much when you don't have lots and lots that you have to do. And then when you do have more appointments and more work that is coming in because of the work that you've put in with lead generation and contacting your sphere and other things, you will wish that you had spent this preparation time doing some of the things that I'm going to talk about. For example, I built my database before I had my license. So as I was finishing up my courses, I was making a database, and having the list to put into a database, because that's time consuming. Like figuring out everybody that you know that you want to let know that you are now a realtor. That takes time because names just pop up once in a while. There's some ways that you can sit down and look through and like make the list, but it won't be complete if you sit down and try and do it in one session. And having that ready to go and just bang, getting an email list together or calling a whole bunch of people or texting a whole bunch of people. It doesn't just happen overnight to have that list ready. So that, and I had a website ready to go. I had a whole bunch of things related to who I would recommend for different things. I didn't need those names for a little while, but I had them all ready to go because it was stuff you could do when you don't have your license. And I was raring to go and pretty excited about it. The purpose of real estate. For buyers, their goal is to find just the right home at the best price in the right time with the least amount of problems. For sellers, their goal is to net the most amount of money in the shortest amount of time with the least amount of problems. I still basically use these phrases all the time with people, something very similar. I just said that to a guy today. I showed them a waterfront property that has 4 feet of snow on it. And I said, my job with you as a buyer is to just get you the best possible place for the best amount of money for the least amount of hassle. That's how I say it, but it's the same meaning. And this kind of thing, you look at it, you put in your own words, and you're ready to say it to people. Everyone wants to hear this. Every seller wants to hear that that your goal is the same as theirs, to make them as much as they can on the property as quickly as possible with the least amount of problems. Problems are worth money to a lot of people, and hassle is worth money, and stress is something you can't quantify it until you have a lot of it, and then you're like, oh, I would pay everything I could to get rid of this kind of stress if I could. So to let people know your goal is the same as theirs, you want to align with them and tell them that your goal is the same. That's probably the best nugget we've got so far here. The top 10 service areas of the seller value proposition: a needs analysis, a pricing strategy, property preparation, marketing strategy, receiving an offer, negotiating to sell, selling, pre-close preparation, closing, and post-closing. These are all things that you can say as part of your value proposition. These are all things that I will help you if you are my seller, if I'm helping you sell. What buyers want most from their agent. We've got a shiny pie graph here. So 52%, the red, they want help finding the right home to purchase. 13%, they want help with the buyer, help buyer negotiate the terms of sale, helping them negotiate. Orange, 11%, help with the price negotiations, and 24% other, whatever that is. Other. Buyers want to be able to, I'll tell you what's missing here. Buyers want to be able to communicate with you. So buyers are the low-hanging fruit of real estate. If you don't know what that means, I mean, it's the easiest good thing to grasp is working with a buyer. They're inexpensive to work with. What they mostly take from you is time and energy. They're not, so you don't have to, pay for marketing and staging and that type of thing. You can work with a buyer and it's relatively inexpensive. And in my first year of real estate, I think I had one listing, but the rest of it was all buyers. I had, I think I had 11 deals. That was in my first half year of real estate, 11 deals, and one was a listing, not a very good one. And the rest was buyers, and the buyers were easy to come by because A lot of people ignore them. They don't call them back. Factors buyers value when choosing an agent being honest and trustworthy, an agent's experience and reputation of an agent, and other. Other is not very helpful. In the graph, it's not very helpful. But and that an agent is honest and trustworthy, you've only got one chance to make your first impression. So showing them you're honest and trustworthy, it's basically about doing what you say. So even if you tell them, I'm going to show up at the property at 4 o'clock, and I drive a red sedan, like if you show up by 4 o'clock and you drive a red sedan, you're honest and you're trustworthy if you show up on time. Punctuality, it's a pet peeve of mine in real estate. It is so easy to just be on time, or tell people you're going to run a little bit late. If you do not tell people you're going to be 5 minutes late, there's some people out there who will think you are not trustworthy or honest. You are basically, go ahead, Sarah.
I'm with you on that one. Yeah. Big time. Like punctuality, real estate agents are notorious for showing up late to showings, overbooking themselves, doing whatever the case may be. It is so, so important to be on time, especially for our clients. I think I've been late twice and it was full uncontrollable circumstances and I still left on time, like way on time. I'd rather sit out front and wait in my car and read a book.
Yeah, absolutely.
Be late for an appointment.
Absolutely. There's so many things you can do if you're early when you're waiting, but there's nothing you can do once you're late. You're just going to be hurried and rushed and flustered maybe. But if you're going to be late, just fire them a text, phone, and say, I'm running late. You don't have to tell them why. You might be late because you were in the drive-through getting a Starbucks. They don't need to know that, but they need to know that you're going to be late, right?
Do you show up with the hot coffee and you're late?
Do not show up with a hot coffee or a fresh newspaper. Newspaper's a little dated, but I used to have an employee years ago. He would show up 5 minutes after he was supposed to every morning with a coffee and a newspaper. And I wanted to wring his neck. I just say, can you just leave half an hour a little earlier? Or say, well, I just need to get my coffee. I'm like, oh.
So planned.
Yeah. So showing that you're honest and trustworthy in the little things, then you'll be trusted with the bigger things. Your experience, they don't really know what your experience is. Like the only experience they're going to understand is what someone told them or what they might read from a review. And the reputation, same thing. So if their friend recommends them to you, then that's the reputation they care about. It's who referred them. And your online reputation is something that you can protect. So this is related to this. I have good Google reviews. For an agent in Muskoka, I have one of them. I have a lot of Google reviews for a Muskoka agent. You can look my name up on the computer anytime you want. And my reviews they're 100% from clients. So every single review there is from someone that I've worked with. That doesn't have to be the case. So you could get a Google review from someone that you've worked with in a different area if they're going to speak to how trustworthy you are or how great you might be to work with. But I do recommend asking for reviews, especially when there's been a positive experience. If it's not a good experience with the client, don't ask them for a review. Like that's common sense, but not everyone seems to have common sense. Don't ask them. If you think it didn't go great, don't ask for the review. It's better to have no review than for them to get on and say, they keep pushing me for this review. Here it comes. If you look at my reviews, only one of them is negative, and I did not work with that person ever. So I have 4.9 out of 5 stars, and the one bad review is somebody who I never worked with. And I reply back to them and said, I'm not even sure who you are, but like, I'm sorry, like, but that's sometimes when you can figure out what the experience and reputation is. Otherwise, basically, people are kind of believing what you put forward and what you're telling them, unless someone can prove them otherwise, which is partly why there's salesmanship involved in real estate. And really, I would wish more people did their homework with their realtor about who they're working with, but a lot of people don't. They just take the first name that someone gives them who says they like them. I talked with someone who worked at Hydro One, and he said that a lot of the guys that he works with, they just go and pick the most attractive agent that they can find, and that's who they work with when they're doing their transfers. I said, "Are you crazy? Why did you call me?" He's like, "Not for that reason."
And Dave had a good point earlier, like when it comes to being an expert in your area, there are a lot of agents that work way out of their area. I'm guilty of it also, for like a very few exceptions.
Yep.
But when you are dealing, and that was a big part of our market craziness when it came to COVID, because we had Toronto real estate agents coming up and overpaying for houses because it was a deal to them. But then what happened was it helped push the market way up and over what it should have been. So trading in your area, being an expert in your area, and then I never give anybody grief for trading outside of their area.
No.
But when speaking to clients about choosing an agent, I say, even if it's not me, just choose somebody local. Choose somebody who knows what they're doing and can give you the proper advice.
Yeah, on the one of my latest reviews, because all of you guys are going to look really hard at my reviews, sarcasm intended, but feel free to. There's a recent one that's from somebody that switched from a Toronto agent that was someone they knew who was going to give them a really good deal with their listing, and couldn't sell the house, and it was in Bracebridge. And then through a friend of a friend, they called me and said, "We've got to kick this guy to the curb. Like he's not even answering the phone." And I did sell the property, but the review they gave me was amazing. It was amazing. I think I gave them excellent service, but the review is even better. I'm like, wow, wow, they're pretty impressive.
There are little details about properties. A lot of like city agents coming up and purchasing them in Springwater. A lot of city agents are coming up and they don't know how to deal with a well, or they don't know how to deal with a septic, or that they need to get water tests. And when they don't know that, they're putting their clients at risk. So that can be part of your value proposition, is I am local.
Yeah.
Know the area. Things about tiny township or whatever the case may be. Like, it's important that you are the expert in that area for that reason.
You don't want to talk about the things you don't know, but when you really do know a lot about something and it comes up in a conversation, don't be afraid to get into the details unless you see their eyes glazing over. But I met with the guy that I talked with today. He's a retired contractor. I have a construction background. I was never a builder, but I know an awful lot of builders and know a lot about that kind of stuff. So I could talk some of the language that he talked. And I wanted him to know that I understood what he was talking about with the way that this place was built, and that it seemed to be on a good foundation, all that good stuff, without overstepping and like trying to one up him on, well, oh yeah, foundations, let me tell you, so you do want to let people know when you do have some expertise in an area. So other factors here that sellers consider when they are choosing an agent: the reputation of the agent is probably the most important thing. Again, they find that out by reviews or talking to people. What's your reputation? They talk to people about it. Whether the agent is honest and trustworthy, which is really the reputation as well. And then, the orange one, agent is friend or family, and other. Agent is friend or family. Some people are going to use friend and family agents no matter what. They don't want to go to Thanksgiving and Christmas dinner and get grief from Auntie Sue because they didn't use Bobby, who's the same. Who was it? Billy was a crackhead I was talking about before. You want your friends and family to use you as a realtor, but don't be too offended if they don't. Some people don't want to make it weird. So I've had my sister, who is actually joining my real estate team this year. She never lived in my market until recently, but she would hire, like, for sale by owner companies. She worked with property guys and ComFree. She had no real desire to work with a realtor, and basically thought realtors cost too much. And the irony is she's going to be a realtor very shortly. But I wasn't offended that she wasn't going to use a real estate agent when she was trying to sell that way. But we did talk about it when she had a really hard time selling that way twice, like a really hard time. And I already mentioned my friend Tony, who wouldn't work with me until I was more experienced. Don't get too annoyed or too upset. Just move on, have your 5 minutes of frustration, and then cut it off, and then keep going if a friend or family decides to work with someone else, especially if you're newer in the industry. And if you find out that they're working with someone else, if you're willing to hear it, ask them why. Ask them why they're not working with you. So, go ahead, Sarah.
If they choose and if they tell you outright, like, I'm not going to work with you, you can also offer to refer them to somebody.
That's true. You get 25% of the commission and refer them to someone else. That's a minimum. So, and a lot of people don't realize that's something they could do, and then they won't feel as bad. They can refer you can refer them to someone else. But if the answer is, I want to work with this super team because they've been knocking on my door for 25 years and I've promised them the business, then you might have a harder road to convince them. But at least you've heard something from them. You have an idea. And sometimes they just don't want to hurt your feelings and they might not tell you the truth about it. But I like knowing why if someone's not going to work with me. And once in a while you hear, oh, I actually forgot that you were a real estate agent or something like that. Then it's your fault. Like if they don't remember and they don't know that you're a realtor and you don't feel like they're lying about it, that's your fault that you're not actually in contact with them and reminding them. Like they don't have a magnet with your face on it, or you haven't called them for 2 years, or they haven't seen you anywhere. There's no reason.
Or your billboard on the side of Highway 11.
Yeah, so I'm guilty of the billboard thing. And it is, frankly, a lazy way of being front of mind for people, but it is not cheap. So I don't recommend billboards to everybody, but it is definitely a way for people to kind of assume that you're an area expert, whether you are or not, because obviously you've got billboards and stuff like that. But frankly, we didn't put any billboards up until I could afford to. And really, I had a lot of marketing expenses I wanted to dump at the end of 1 year. So we put up our first billboard, and then they seemed to really work because we would follow up on where our calls were coming from. So now I've got a few of them. Lisa thinks they're great. She keeps wanting to put up more billboards.
I say hi to you all the time on the way to the cottage.
Wave today. Wave. And now you guys will notice those billboards if you're coming up Highway 11 in Muskoka. So the whole 44%. There's other factors. There are lots of factors, but generally speaking, people, if all things are equal, people will want to work with someone who they know and trust. If all things are equal, and you can work on your objection handling and how you are going to, if you're not on a team, how you as an individual agent can give better service than a team, or if you are on a team and you're not an individual agent, you can talk about the power of the team structure and everything that's behind you and all the things you can offer. So, but this is all part of figuring out your value proposition. Okay, we're back to KW technology and the value proposition. This is part of the value proposition. I don't use this very much when I'm talking to buyers or sellers. They generally speaking, Sarah, you might disagree, but they don't use our apps. They use all sorts of other things. Like if somebody, I don't really care how someone looks for listings on their own as long as they're up to date. I do point people towards realtor.ca and say that this is the best place to find the most current listings, and all of the listings in Canada are on here that are on MLSs. But they'll use other apps and sometimes they'll find out of date stuff. I get calls from listings that are like 6 years old, and people want to know where they can buy this place that's way cheaper than it should be. And I tell them you're looking on the wrong sites. Like these are sites that are not scraping the internet for real listings. 3 steps to define your value proposition. Number 1, identify your knowledge, attitudes, skills, and beliefs that make you these are things for you to actually do, guys. So I would take a screenshot of this if you don't have it in front of you, or take a picture with your phone. You want to do these things, and you don't have to share it with anyone right away because you can work on this, but you're going to have to do this one way or the other, whether it's you're making it up on the fly or you've practiced it and you've honed it. It's always going to be better if you think about it ahead of time. Identify your knowledge, attitudes, skills, and beliefs that make you qualified to be a great real estate agent. You might be bilingual, you might be trilingual, you may have a background, your schooling might be certain things, you may have certain skills, your belief system, whether it's religious or philosophical, these might be things that make you better to work with, that make you have a stronger mind. Your skill set is really important depending on what it is, and your experience for sure, that make you qualified to be a great real estate agent. Number 2, transform the value you provide and the value of KW in your market center into benefits for your clients, especially when you're a newer agent, and you haven't joined some powerhouse team. You want to point people towards Keller Williams. If people haven't heard of Keller Williams, for example, tell them to Google it, because there's so much information and it's almost all good about KW on the internet. And the market center itself, our market centers are big, they're beautiful, there's smiling people there. Sarah's in there sometimes, she's mostly smiling, her face. And there's a lot of support that comes with the market center. We have 24/7, like 365 days a year. If somebody phones, they can get somebody. When someone sends an email to our market center, from an admin perspective, they get a quick response. We have all these amazing services that come with your membership to our brokerage. And then build your value proposition statement. So whether it's like Walmart and it's very businessy, or whether it's like State Farm and it's just one sentence that gets it across. I mean, on my signage it says Muskoka's real estate expert. Like that, my value proposition is I am an area's real estate expert. I offer way more value than just that, but that summarizes it pretty well. I'm not saying that I'm North America's greatest agent or something like that. I'm saying I'm Muskoka's real estate expert. So it just goes into a bit more detail of these things. And then we can role play on it. Do you want to role play on this, Sarah?
You guys can role play if you wish.
Does anyone want to role play with it?
So Dave,
anyone go ahead.
Tell me,
yep,
if you were to do an elevator pitch, like an elevator speech to somebody about your business, what would it be?
So I've done this before, and I was at family reunion in a room that was talking about it. So it was like 200 people in the room, and someone did this to me. They put me on the spot with it. And I said something along the lines of, hi, I'm Dave McMurray, and I work in the most beautiful part of Lake Country in North America. And I help people fulfill their dreams of moving to Muskoka and having an incredible lakefront property, beautiful acreage, or living in one of our beautiful hallmark towns.
That's pretty good.
Something like that. And I just made that up basically. So I'm pretty good on my feet, but I do a variety of different things like that. And I focus on where I work because people like talking about Muskoka. It's kind of a nice area right now.
Area.
What's that, Sarah?
It's kind of a nice area.
Nice. Right now it kind of sucks because of the snow, but I do tell people for 3 to 4 months of the year, there's no nicer place in Canada. You've got to go to, like, I don't know, Vancouver Island or something to be nicer than Muskoka is in the summertime. And I never leave Muskoka in the summer. There's mega camp. Every year I could go, and I never go because it's in August. Why would I leave where I am in August? Never.
That's exactly why I don't go to mega camp. It's right over cottage season.
Totally, it's cottage season. It's also like it's summer here. Like who wants to go to Austin when it's 1,000 degrees? So value proposition. Has anyone thought of something about themselves that's interesting and unique? Like there's something about you. Like when I mentioned multiple languages there because my English is basically not even good. Like my French is terrible. I speak Fringlish, But when I deal with multilingual realtors and other professionals, I'm always impressed. I'm impressed when anyone can communicate in multiple languages. That is a huge offering in real estate. It means you can cross culture, you can make people feel comfortable in more than one language. Is a big deal. Is that the case for anybody in our group today?
My first language is Russian.
Cool.
There you go.
Yeah. So I told Nikki, I was like, I need to cross over into like the Russian market.
If you can speak Russian, Elsie, you absolutely should be reaching out to potentially Russian clients as well, and putting that on your internet, your social stuff, because I've dealt with multiple Russian clients, and for the most part, they want to work with Russian speaking people. I've had some that were happy to work with me, but they were referred from Russian speaking.
They're a tough group.
Well, no, it's a great group. Like I got lots of Russian jokes. I've got clients who are Russian and Ukrainian together. They love joking about what's going on right now in the world, which is, maybe not in good taste, but that's what they're like. But yeah, that is absolutely something that you want to ride hard, like, because your English is awesome. If your Russian is even half as good, you are going to be able to cross over and help people, and they will love the fact that's something that you can do, and they'll love that you're young and able to appeal that way. I think. So anyone else? That's fine. Okay.
I can barely speak English. So.
Me too. So it definitely is helpful, but there's other niche areas like Carrie, what you've said about your experience in the school board. That's a big deal. Like, that's a network that you should be definitely reaching out to, because especially if you had good relationships there. My wife was only a school secretary for a few years. She is still running into people locally who are growing into, like, they're adults now, and they're like, oh, but they know that she's married to me, and they know that she's saying, this is where I work now, and those people all at some point are going to buy or sell or know people, and they'll bring it up in conversation because of her relationship with them in previous work. Like, it really helps.
That role is a really important. I have my elementary school secretary on Facebook.
Yeah. Well, I'm
She
on
was
Facebook.
so loved.
Yeah.
Debbie Dawson. She was.
This is Dawson.
Yeah. And I still have her on Facebook. That's how, like, I don't remember half my teachers, but that school secretary was loved.
Yep. Yep.
Well, I'm Facebook friends with most of the staff there, and a lot of past students' parents, because we end up talking to them a lot. So I'm posting on Facebook pretty regularly about real estate.
Yep.
So the teachers are now coming into the office and being like, Carrie, you would know the answer to this. Is it worth it to finish our basement? So I'm like, okay, this is going well.
Yeah, and don't ever hesitate to ask that question. Are you thinking about making a move in the next year or so, like buying or selling? Because they won't necessarily tell you, but when they have told you, they're like, okay, they're kind of cementing who you are. My role was in sales in other types of industries. So I sold log homes. I sold insulation as an insulation estimator for a number of years. And to move people from, Carrie is the school secretary to Carrie is a superstar realtor, it takes a little bit of time. Like, you have to reinforce it with them. And I'm not telling you how to talk to the people you already know. Like, I'm just saying, don't hesitate to mention it. I'm a shameless self-promoter, obviously, it seems like. Sarah's laughing. But
that's how you've done so well. So we're talking
well,
about.
People like it. So, like, I make a joke of, I'm already joking about it, that I'm a shameless self-promoter. But if you don't let people know what you're doing, how are they supposed to know? Like, how are they supposed to know? And you will have those conversations like, oh, I forgot that you're an agent. No one is forgetting that I'm an agent. If we've had a just even a 5-minute conversation, And if you were doing a course like Bold, which Keller Williams offers, it's encouraged in the role playing and the scripting is trying to slip it in there somehow in the conversation. I do it everywhere, and it's not like once you get used to it, it's not even annoying. I've told one friend that I do it, and then he once in a while he'll point to it. We'll be together, and he'll walk away. He's like, I saw what you did there. But you might just be at a restaurant, you're talking to the server, and that you're having a little bit of a conversation, and then you just mentioned, yeah, I'm a real estate agent back where I came from, and I often recommend this restaurant or whatever. And then sometimes they want to talk about it, sometimes they don't. But once in a while, you leave a card with somebody, and it might go somewhere. But you just throw it into the conversation in English or in Russian, whatever language you got, right? And let people know, that's a big part of it. So, all right, where are we here? Ahas. Okay. Anyone, did anything pop into your head? Were there any, oh, okay, kind of moments? The aha moment, that's what that means. Anything? I'm not going to be offended if there aren't.
I think just creating a value proposition and like putting it in writing is going to be very helpful, because it's like having your own motto or something so that you can refer back to it regularly and sort of become known for it. I think that's a great idea.
Good.
The one I like that you were talking about is that as simple as you got your database ready to go even before you were licensed. Understood the value of your database and you went right into creating it, which I know Artie's already done because she's going to be a superstar. And I know Carrie has started and Elsie's started, and we talked about it last week, but the database, putting it down on paper, writing it down, that's our business. That's your money. Just think about, you don't write it down, you don't add it to a database.
Yeah.
Like you've got nothing. We need databases. That's the most important thing.
Yeah. And it's just keeping track of stuff. Like, I'm not a scatterbrained person. However, there's only so much that you can keep in your head. How many of you know phone numbers anymore? So I'm in my late 40s. Elsie probably doesn't have to remember phone numbers. Like, it's just in your phone, right?
I know my parents' phone numbers.
That's good.
That's
in case of
it.
emergency.
I'm the same. I know my parents' phone number, my husband's, and my best friends, and that's it.
I don't remember any numbers. I don't remember the number of the house I lived at from like 4 years old to 17. I don't remember that phone number in Toronto anymore. And that number, like, I called it all the time, when I was anywhere else. I don't even remember Lisa's number when we were dating. And I called her house and we spoke on the phone like every day. It's gone from my head. So like, if no one should think that they're going to be able to remember all of the people that they are working with or they want to work with, or that they even know, because it's going to be friends, it's going to be friends of friends, it's going to be people that you've met only once or twice. And you want to, if they're willing, especially give you an email address or a cell number, not because you're going to harass them and put them on some crazy campaign where you're going to be on them all the time. And this is more of an aside from Keller Williams world. Sarah's already smiling there. I don't believe in bugging people. I call it bugging people, because if you're using speed dialers and you're calling them all the time, that doesn't work in my market. I know that in small towns, people do not want random phone calls, even from someone that they kind of know who the person is. They don't want random phone calls. So in a text day and age, if you can call them about something, that's good. I give away free pies every year in the fall. We give away 150 free pies. We don't even phone people about the pies. We put it on Facebook. We let people share it. I don't call my clients about the pie day. But they find out about the pie day, and sometimes they find out after pie day. No one ever says, why didn't you call me? They're like, oh, I should have been watching for pie day. And then they put it on their calendar for next year. When you have people's contact information, be careful what you do with it. Because if they're willing to give it to you, that means they're asking you to kind of respect the fact that you have it, instead of spamming them. You know what Gmail does with spam? It puts it in a folder and no one ever reads it again. And for mine, it goes in an updates folder and maybe won't get read. You want to be the person who messages once in a while and has something to say. And even better, this might go again. If you're relatively young, you may not like using the phone as a phone. But once in a while, a phone call is nice, especially if you're kind of, I don't know where the age stops where people like getting a phone call. Probably somewhere in their 30s. What do you think, Sarah?
I don't like getting phone calls.
Yeah.
Me there.
Yeah. Okay. So,
But I would rather be on the phone and have a conversation with someone than texting back and forth. And we have Dylan talking at one of these, and he's going to go on about how important the phone call is.
well, Dylan makes phone calls because he's busy driving all the time. So he makes his phone calls while he's driving. So it's not self-serving, but it's convenient for him the way he makes his calls. I tend to text before I call. So I might say, hey, Sarah, do you have time for a quick call? And if you say no, that's fine. Then I'll calendar it for 2 weeks from now and then do the same thing again if it's someone that I want to reach out to, right? So I don't randomly call people, but people do answer. And I don't leave a voicemail. Whenever someone has no one likes getting a voicemail that says, hey, can you call me back? That is like the worst thing ever. And the worst people who do it are realtors. They leave voicemails and like, can you call me back? And my voicemail literally says, if you want to reach me, leave me, like text me. Don't leave me a voicemail because I may or may not check them anytime soon. It says something like that.
Voicemails suck.
Yeah.
Voicemails do suck, but I'm not going to disable it so that like someone who's older, like my mom, she's going to leave me a voicemail, or someone in her generation in her 80s. They want a phone call and they want to be able to like, can you please call me back at this number? You know, they may not even have a cell phone, and those are great clients if you're willing to work with people who are aged. They are more time consuming because you got to be there in person. But boy, if you can build a relationship, they all eventually need to sell, and some of them have 10 times the money of their kids and grandkids. So they're great clients when you got them. Anyway, any more ahas? Because I'm sure I've taken up more time than you expected.
I also think you saying that to take this time while we don't have business to learn about the market and our areas is smart, because I'm just been waiting, like once I get busy, I'll learn more about the market, where like you said, this is really the time where we have to do the extra reading and learning.
Absolutely. And if you're already licensed, preview properties, like go to, as long as it's realistic, like go and see a place. If you think it's interesting or it's generically, you've never been to that neighborhood, go and book a showing and call it an agent preview. The other agents don't know if you don't have clients, but go and see the house, see what it's like, see what the builds are like in that area. Like take the time to do that. It's time that, you know, I'm hoping you won't have later because you'll be so busy, but you can't get it back. And I have a seasonal market where we are, so I can reliably know that January and most of February is very slow in my market. So I'm not stressed out about spring. I just know that spring will be crazy for me, and I'm enjoying the time off. You guys have a seasonal market as well, but not as extreme. So there still is business to do in February in your area of Central Ontario. But it's slower. Like enjoy it. And I'm not saying work all day every day. You know, if you're gonna have to learn to enjoy your downtime. I'm someone who I love real estate. I love my work, and I do go into the office every day, even in the winter for the most part. But I don't hurry in. I wake up later. My coffee's on longer. I sit around and visit with Lisa, and she may or may not come in depending on the day. Like we do not have office hours at the Muskoka Group in January. You better have a key if you want to come in here at a random time in January or February. But there'll be someone here from like 7:30 in the morning to probably 7 o'clock at night in May, June, and then through till probably Thanksgiving. There'll be somebody working. But this time of year, we just enjoy it. But I'm still doing stuff like this and understanding my market. There's just nothing going on in my area. I love it. But enjoy that time, Carrie. Enjoy that time, guys. Like you can you can learn lots, and especially learning how the software works, how to write offers, deal with the paperwork, all that stuff, so that you're not trying to figure it out when there's a time crunch and somebody's telling you, I need to write an offer tonight. Well, you want to know how to do it, practice it a little bit, right?
Mhm.
Anything else, guys? Quick questions, answers, anything like that? If not,
Nope.
I will say goodbye. Anything, Sarah? Anything else?
I was just going to say next week we have Andrew Hermiston, who is teaching lead gen stuff, which is a very another very important course. He is what Dave, he's different than Dave. He does the auto dialer and door knocking.
Very good at lead generation. Yeah.
Pardon?
He's very good. And
Yes.
the Herm, I call him the Herm. He's very good at lead generation, and and if I was in that market, I probably would be doing things more like he does as well.
Yeah, it's definitely a different market here. And Andrew's only been in business for I think 6 years. And he's done a great job doing his cold calls, and he's going to teach you how to do that. So I really hope to see everybody next Wednesday. And that's it.
Fantastic. You guys have a wonderful night, and stay out of Snowmageddon if you can avoid it. I hear it's coming. The White Walkers are coming as well.
Yes.
But stay warm. I'd say in the summer, I tell you to stay cool, but stay warm. Very nice to meet you all. If you know anyone who's looking to buy or sell, looking to buy or sell in the Muskoka area, let me know.
Thank you, Dave.
Thanks very much.
Have a good night, guys.
Good night, guys.
Night.
Bye, Dave. Thank you.